starts with a 0 day, which means a day that you don't hike any miles. I have not taken 0 since I started, and I have now hiked 106 miles, and I decided after Tom and I had a lovely, if much longer than expected, day in town yesterday together, that today, after I hiked up the whole 1.5 miles it took me to get to the shelter here yesterday evening, that I would take a 0 day here at the shelter. And so it is like 12:30 in the afternoon. I have been up, had breakfast, all that, but I'm just like resting. I'm working on the video for last week, which hopefully you have seen already, and just letting my body recover. I have felt myself getting stronger, but I've also had some days that were just really, really tough, where I felt like my body was struggling. Sometimes I wasn't getting enough calories, but I know from my days of training for endurance races, like half marathons, triathlons, all that stuff, that training is a combination of pushing and then resting so that your body can catch up to the demands that you've put on it. So today I'm taking a big rest. I have taken some, what we call here on the trail, Nero days, which means near zero. Now for seasoned through hikers, that means less than 10 miles. 10 miles is still plenty challenging for me. So for me, a Nero would be probably less than 5 or 6 miles, 5 miles or less, depending on the terrain. Yesterday certainly felt like a Nero, though we were running around town a lot and there was a lot of stressful stuff, just like as things were just taking so long. I needed new shoes, which ended up being, it's always costly to get new hiking, running shoes, because they're really important. But it's like, new tires on your car. They gotta be there. So anyway, so today is just totally no stress. My first 0 in a long time. So, see ya. Hey there, seekers. I'm sitting here at a lookout over a beautiful pond on the long trail. This is my second day, really, of week 3. Yesterday was a 0, and I'm struggling today, man. I started out really strong, and then after break, I don't know, the climbing started getting tough, just hurting. Kind of concerned I'm having a flare, but my doctor did give me a pack of prednisone if I did, so I think if I still feel this way tomorrow, I'm going to go ahead and start the pack and see what happens. I'm going to show you the view here in a minute. It's so easy to get in a negative headspace on days like today where everything hurts, the hills feel so hard, the downhills feel so hard. I just start getting into that mental loop of like, oh my gosh, what do I think I'm doing? There's no way I can do this. But one step at a time, just like life. So here's a beautiful view. A little bit of reward for my suffering today. Still got about 3.5 miles to the shelter. Just gonna take them one step at a time. Today's almost over. I just finished the last climb of the day, and it was short but brutal. And now there's a big descent, but in between, there's this magical place of the sunlight coming through the trees. We've had rain off and on today, but nothing permanent. Oh, just a little bit of a blessing in the midst of all the struggle. Hello from day 3? Yeah, day 3 of week 3. This is a nice cruisy section of the trail, so I thought I'd do a quick video. Last night was tough. It was about an 11.5 mile hike from the the shelter I was staying at, to last night's shelter. And it was just tough. Right now the trail is pretty smooth, but I noticed once I passed, I don't know, a little bit north of Main Junction, the trail gets more rugged, like more roots and rocks and obstacles. So that made the miles harder. And there was also some pretty steep climbs, not anything long, but it was so pretty demoralizing and I was hurting. And then by the time I got into camp, I was in such a bad headspace. Turning around so you can see me. Such a bad headspace that I was just like all in imposter syndrome. You know, this like, I don't belong here. I'm not in shape for this. I don't know what I'm doing. I had another really terrible bear hang. It was like a comedy, really. There was the perfect branch and I just could not get the bag over. And then when it did go over a branch that looked like it, you know, would pretty much work, but it was dead. And I was like, oh, I hope it holds. Well, when I put my food bag on it later in the evening, it did not hold. And one of the guys at the shelter, a day hiker, well, not a day hiker, but you know, he does like short weekend hikes. He lives in the area, offered to let me use his hang. And so I did that and just felt, I don't know, just felt like an idiot. So just really in a bad headspace. Today is way better. Had about 2 miles of climbing. And then now just this kind of cruisy, few ups and downs, but nothing crazy. Trying to make good time. Want to do 13.5 miles today. So I'll let you know how it goes. Good morning, Vermont. Beautiful view of the mountains peeking through the trees. Gorgeous view from the Middlebury Snow Bowl. Construction noise behind me, which is kind of strange coming down off the ridge out of the woods and hearing construction equipment. All right, just a little more than half mile of the lake. Hey there, seekers. So behind me here is what would be an absolutely epic view. I'm on top of Mount Warren, or I'm on the Mount Warren overlook. But of course, we're totally, as you can see, we're totally sucked in. So no views today. Still pretty cool up here in these misty mountains. Sitting here, getting ready to sit here for a little lunch and give you an update on the last couple days. So today is day 5 in week 3. Of course, day 1 was a 0, and day 2 I did 11.5. I checked in on day 3. So I want to tell you about yesterday and kind of what my plan for today is. Yesterday was pretty epic. My original plan was that I was going to go into Middlebury and do a resupply, but I still had it was taking me like a day less than I thought, and I thought I'd really rather take my time in between Bristol, which is where I'm headed tomorrow for a resupply, and Burlington, because Camel's Hump is in there, some pretty big mountain climbing. So what I decided to do is just hitch into Hancock, which is a really tiny Vermont town, very close to the gap that I was at yesterday, which was, Middlebury Gap, and got that hitched pretty quickly, like within 15 minutes. And then, but before I did that, let me back up. So started out that morning, hiked down about 4 miles to Lake Playad, and had a quick swim in the lake. You'll see a picture of that, or you have seen a picture of that. And it was just, the water was cool and wonderful, and I felt clean for just a minute. And then I hiked down to Middlebury Gap, got a hitch into Hancock, And my plan, and I did in fact execute my plan, was that there's a country store in Hancock. The app that I'm using, it's called Far Out, used to be called Gut Hook, has all these comments about hitching into Hancock and going to either the country store or the hotel where they have a restaurant, or both. Well, I just went to the store. They have handmade sandwiches and handmade pizza there. So I got a 12-inch veggie sub and a couple of little things to get me to tomorrow, just like, you know, some granola for breakfast and stuff like that. And then also bought some Long Trail Ale beer and a 12-inch a small veggie pizza. So I ate the sub, put my food in there, refilled my water there in Hancock, and then got a hitch back with the pizza on top of my pack and 6 beers in my pack. Not all for me. I was traveling with a couple of young men, like, you know, we've kind of been in a similar pace. One of whom, Weatherman, I had spent some time with on the trail before, and another guy, Cheryl Spice, who I had just met this week. So anyway, I figured, you know, I'd share with them and whoever else came along. So the original plan was to go to the first shelter up, which was Boyce, and it was just like, I guess it was 3 miles. But the next one up, Skylight, looked amazing. It was 5 miles, and it was almost all climbing with some pretty brutal descents in between. And I was a little anxious about it, but I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it. And it took me a long time with a 6-pack of beer and a small pizza, plus whatever else, you know, my regular stuff in my pack. But I made it. So 5 miles up, and we landed at this amazing lodge, Skylight. I'll share some of the pictures from Skylight Pond from last night and this morning. Unbelievable. And so we shared the beer, had some pizza. They brought up some food as well. And then another guy that I had not met before, but at least Trail Spice had met, named Field Guide, showed up, and he was like, "What is this, heaven?" Because we had beer and an enormous brownie that we were sharing. And so it was just an amazing evening. Like, we still made it up there. I made it up there by like 5:30. I decided to sleep in the shelter, totally beat the rain that was coming, and then watched it from the front porch of this cabin, drinking beer and sharing stories and laughing and just celebrating the fact that we made it past the halfway mark. So whatever else happens, hey, you know, they're all going to totally do it. I have no doubt. They're in amazing shape. I hope I can. We'll see. I'm just taking it one step at a time and learning as I go, like, not just about the trail, but about myself and everything else. That's the whole point of this. Anyway, it was amazing. It was a lot of work, but it's one of those memories that will stay with me like forever. Now, meantime, on the way up, somehow there were several logs that there were a couple that you actually had to crawl under. You couldn't go over them. You couldn't go around them. You had to go underneath them. And I probably should have taken my pack off. I did not. And somewhere on the climb up, I apparently lost my hat, unless I stuffed it in my pack and I haven't been able to find it. That's my hope, but I think I lost it. And I left my sunglasses back up a few campsites. So it's a thing. Hikers do it a lot. You find like somebody left their shirt. We're so focused on the trail, and something about walking for miles and miles all day long, day after day. Your brain kind of, I don't know, some of the normal stuff like, oh, I got to remember my sunglasses. It just kind of doesn't register. We call it hiker brain. Anyway, so today I'm having a short day. I'm only going to hike 7.5 miles. And then tomorrow I've got one mountain to climb, and then a short descent into Lincoln Gap, and hope to get a ride into Bristol, resupply, get right back on trail. About halfway up Mount Abraham is a shelter called Battelle, and I'll stay there tomorrow evening. So that's the plan. So far, the week has been eventful and mostly amazing, and I will be forever grateful for the amazing time and celebration that we had last night. Whoa, would you looky there. While I was eating my lunch, as you saw, even as I was talking to you a minute ago, the sun was coming out. It burned off some of those clouds. And we have actually a really lovely view to the south. Thanks, Vermont. Here is a gorgeous view brought to you by Mount Roosevelt, elevation 3,505. The second of 3, I believe, mountains I'm climbing today. The third is not named in my app, so this is not Roosevelt. First view of the morning. Resupply day. Week 3, day 6, kind of. Yeah. Gorgeous. Week 3 ended with both stress and blessings. So I resupplied shortly after coming off of Sunset Ledge, which is what you're looking at here. I went into Waitsfield after some back and forth about the best town, and was just a little discombobulated about the whole resupply, because it was one of those I needed to get in and get out. It was an unfamiliar town. Thankfully, the first person, as soon as I stuck my thumb out, the first person that came by pulled over and gave me a ride into Waitsfield. It was a guy with his 2 kids, and we talked about what through hiking was and trail names and everything all the way. It was just delightful. Got my resupply in a really nice local grocery. It ended up being way more than I thought, so I was stressed out about that because I needed a new iPhone cord, and also got some more coffee, and it just was like, I don't know, stressed about a lot of different things. So after I finished my resupply, I really had no idea what to do, and I had not thought through charging batteries. That's a pretty essential part of resupply. I knew I was going to go ahead and wait to get a shower and wash my clothes and stuff until I got to Waterbury, but I had not figured out how to charge my batteries. And so I reached out to a trail angel who was listed on the app I use. Her name was Tamara. So shout out to Tamara for being an amazing help. She came and picked me up at the grocery store, let me charge my phone and at least get another 1 bar on my Anchor battery while I swam in Blueberry Lake, then got me back to the trail. I even got a shower in there, and I was able to make it up to Battelle Shelter. So Tamara and trail angels like her can take a stressful day and turn it into a blessing. One of the things about the trail that continues to amaze me is the way that I continue to be reminded of the goodness of human beings, right? I'm just starting to descend Lincoln Peak after climbing Mount Abe. And I just want to try to get a video of the cloud that would have been just moving across the pine forest. Sun's trying to burn away some of the clouds. I'm not sure what town that is down there. We'll find out. View from Castle Rock Chairlift. It's Sunday, August 5th? 6th? I don't know. Okay, Just coming out a pretty torrential downpour coming down Mount Ellen, and the sun breaks through, and I'm treated to this. All right.